Hey fellas, what you're listening to here is a condensed cut of one of our most popular episodes, broken down to give you the frameworks, strategies, and stories that help good men become great men. Enjoy the show.
For context, let's create some fertile soil here in which we can have an amazing conversation and take this lots of directions. And I want to get into like the breakthroughs I've had working with you and why I think this has been so effective. And I want you to explain why you think it's been so effective for me. And I'll just be the guinea pig for this conversation. But let's give a solid base on what is the work, right? What is the work? What are the 4 questions? What's the easiest way to explain it so that everybody can be on the same page here?
Yeah, first principles. So the work is a way of identifying and questioning the stressful thoughts that you have, the stories you tell yourself. And it's a way of doing self-inquiry, because it's often not what is happening to us that causes our suffering. It's our reaction to what happens to us. It's the story we tell ourselves. So the work deals with asking the fundamental question, is it true? Is the story I'm telling myself really true? And then whether it's true or not, the work is also a kind of shadow work. Because again, when you feel triggered and you're judging someone else, it doesn't just inform you, it affects you. That's the litmus test for shadow. I'm projecting an unconscious part of myself onto you. And so the work is a way of looking in the mirror with those turnarounds and seeing where the suffering is really coming from, which is always what I do to you, not what you do to me. That's out of alignment with my own values.
My experience has been that I always jump on the phone and I'm like, I'm going to convince Nathanael this time that I'm right. And typically it's like same pattern. It's usually about my wife. And I'm like, okay, I'm open-minded, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. And I remember being in Florida, and I might have shared this on the podcast before, I don't remember. But this was profound for me. I was in Florida, and I know this will come back to you instantly the minute I start talking about it. We were on the beach, my wife and I are walking, and she's picking up shells, and I want to have a deep conversation with her. And ultimately, she's not listening, and I want her to listen. That's the context. I get upset. She gets upset. I get on the phone with you. We start having this conversation. And I am convinced that because I asked nicely, that she listened to me, that she should have listened to me. Hence begins the work. She should have, right?
Yeah, and should.
She should do this. She should do that. And I can think about how many times that shows up in our lives. Like, my kids should do this. My coworkers should do this. So-and-so should treat me this way at a restaurant. There's all these like beliefs. And so you do this judge your neighbor worksheet, right? It's called Judge Your Neighbor. But it's really about like, where are you in judgment of something, correct? Is that an easy way of saying it? So I'm judging Tayara because she's not listening to me. But dude, I walked away from that conversation feeling a shift in my body to where I could then go interact with her on a productive level. I was still, by the way, I was buzzing with a little bit of anger because I think it takes time for that bell to stop ringing, right? And your nervous system to calm down. But the idea that then you get into like, instead of she should listen to me, the idea of I should listen to her came up. How is that true? And I was able, and I remember sitting on the bed in this beach house, and you were just letting me sit in the not knowing the answer of how this could be true, right? And you were allowing me to do the work. You're allowing me the space to think. You were holding space for me to grow. And I was not seeing it. I was getting frustrated. I remember that. But ultimately it hit me. Like, I wasn't listening to her. She was telling me with her body language she wanted to pick up shells.
You're not like most men. You don't just scroll, you study. You don't just parent, you lead. And you don't just read, you implement. And that's why we made this, a no-fluff, battle-tested list of books that sharpen men like you. Picked by our tribe, proven in real life, these books are gonna stretch your mind, fuel your growth, and challenge who you thought you had to be. These aren't just great reads. They're tools to help you grow as a father, husband, and a man. Get the list and all the insights that bring it to life at frontrowdads.com/books.
And I wasn't listening to her body language. So why are my words more important than her body language. And I start to see all the construct that I put in place, all the ways I've been trying to be righteous in my work and all of this. And dude, then I thought maybe this is a one-off. Maybe Nathanael just got lucky, this one situation. But dude, for the next 3 months, every week I'd jump on the phone with you, I'd have an issue. I was convicted that I was right. And then you would help me see the opposite. You would help me see other angles. No other form of coaching has helped me to see more angles than this one. No other form of coaching has helped me to see perspective, to catch the blind spot, to see all the different arguments. And it's been very humbling because I thought of myself as a smart person prior to this. I thought of myself as a well-read, well-educated. I'm on trainings constantly. I'm friends with some of the best coaches on the planet. And yet still, the perspectives and breakthroughs were profound. Why do you think this work is so different and so impactful? Because you're also highly qualified in many other systems and modalities and forms of healing and coaching. But why this one? Why am I having this experience, Nathanael?
Very well said, first of all. And as Katie would say, the work is checkmate. And why is it checkmate? Because it's a form of inquiry. What does that mean? It means we're inquiring. We're looking within ourselves, and it deals with the projection phenomenon. It's shadow work. So the scratch.
Explain shadow for a second. Explain shadow.
Well, in the projector metaphor, the scratch is on the lens, but it's projected onto the screen. And we think the scratch is on the screen. And that's what the ego's basic defense mechanism is. I mean, think about your kids. I know you are, but what am I? The basic ego defense is to, when something's vulnerable or we're guilty of something, we deny that and then project it onto someone else as a way of feeling safe. The best defense is a good offense. So shadow work is the way of using our emotional triggers to go into inquiry about why does that trigger me? And you come to find time and time again, which is why it's checkmate, that it's something that I'm doing to you or to myself or others that I'm projecting onto you, which is why it bothers me in the first place, because it's out of alignment, again, with my own values. I'm not walking my talk. It's the gap between my walk and my talk, and I project that onto you. Now, many people would and do take the work and say, oh, well, that's all about personal responsibility. Right. Radical personal responsibility. And this is universal. It's not just called shadow work. It's called self-reflection. It's called confession in religion. It's like take the rocks out of your own shoe. It's called a fearless inventory in 12-step. Like, what am I doing? And can I own that and make amends is the next step. The natural tendency when you find out, wow, what I've been judging you for, I'm guilty of. That's death to an ego. And then comes, I'm sorry. How can I make it right with you? And that's the pathway of once you look in the mirror, it's like a martial art. You get to see your blind spots. That's what you have coaches in game film for. You don't know what you don't know. The eye can't see the eye. So you need the mirror. And then once you're aware of what it is in you, guess what? That's what leadership is. Now you can give out what you wanted to receive from others. You can walk your own talk. And you become a kind of leadership presence, a kind of truth force when you live your own values.
Do you use the work on yourself?
It is my practice. At least that's my verbal commitment. And it's ideally a daily practice. Yes.
Now there's a worksheet. There's a process. And I think one of the best parts about this is you're not relying on your own. This isn't like, let me dig deep into the wisdom of Nathanael to bestow upon you the brilliance that you need. So much of what you're doing is actually walking me through a spreadsheet. And here's the next question. And then it's like, this is the next question. Now, you are masterfully weaving in what a man who's made it his life work to be in this space does, where you are able to improv in the moment beautifully. And I really want to give you props for that. And I want to give you props for not having such a big ego that it is all about Nathanael. Like, you're able to stick to the sheet and say, let's do the work. Let's let the work do the work, right? And because I think a lot of coaches crave that, like, oh man, Nathaniel, if it weren't for you saying that one thing in that one moment, I would never be. Like, we crave that. Of course, we all want to be impactful and have impact in other people, but you're very good about giving credit to the work, to the framework itself, which is why it's repeatable, which is why somebody can do it on their own, and which is why people can take it and apply it in their other areas of their lives.
Well, that's to answer your other question as well, is why is this so powerful?
Yeah.
Is because, as back to Bruce Lee, it's because it deals with self-knowledge. And you have the key with the work to the answers that are within you. You know, I can't give you the answers, and I can offer my perspective. But, you know, it's kind of like the 80-20 rule. 80% of it's holding space so that you can drop into your own inner wisdom. You know, David Lynch, the filmmaker, says the big fish are deeper in the ocean. So the work is meditation too, in that sense. It's contemplation. So it's starting to drop into your own inner wisdom.
And it is like exhausted after our session.
It's a mental workout. Yeah, they'll call it the work for nothing. And you end up, when you see in the mirror, so there are those of us who like to blame ourselves for everything. And there are those of us who like to blame other people. And when we look in that mirror, some people would think, like, take the thought that you had. It's like, she doesn't listen to me. Well, is it true, first of all? Can you absolutely know that's true? And how do you feel? How do you react when you believe that thought in that situation? That's the whole stressful reaction that that thought creates, which is the interesting part about the work. It's like the Matrix. It's like getting to see our own programming. Because we get triggered and we think the emotion happens first. But emotions are just unconscious thoughts. And they have us, we don't have them, which is why we react. So it makes the whole thing conscious. It puts an X-ray on it so that you can also look at, well, who would you be without the thought? You're telling yourself this story. What if it isn't true? And that's the mindset shift that happens from reacting to responding. So you always end up with more perspectives. When you do the work, you always end up with more options. And certainly once you start to do the turnarounds and you see in the mirror, so she should listen to me. It could be that, I should listen to her. Maybe I wasn't listening to her. And then the other turnaround is I should listen to myself.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, I'm not giving myself the chance to speak. So it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It's a little different. You can try to figure it out with your head, but when you do the work, you come into these moments of aha, that's why it's so powerful.
One of our big breakthroughs was, you remember the one about the alarm clock or the electrical equipment in the internet? There was an internet, electrical equipment, plugs, all this stuff. And my wife wanted me to remove some of this because she thought it was affecting our son. And it was very triggering for me because I was like, she should be more considerate. She should be more compassionate, right? There was all this she should again. And one of the big breakthroughs for me on that one, Nathaniel, was that I should be more compassionate to myself. That was the turnaround for me. That was the big breakthrough, is I realized how hard on myself I am. And then when she just touches me in like the lightest of ways, I can react, like I can blow up because I'm already so difficult on myself. I'm so tough on myself. So where I'm trying to get her to be nicer so that I don't explode, the real work was that I needed to be more compassionate for myself so that even if she did say something, I wouldn't be like a balloon ready to pop where the tiniest little touch sends me over the edge.
Yeah, I need her to be nicer so that she doesn't hold up the mirror up to how mean I am to myself.
That's right.
Yeah, and that goes into what Katie calls the prescription for happiness, where I want or should or need you to give me. It's like you write the prescription for them with the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, but then you take the prescription, which is where healing comes from. It's like, they weren't giving me compassion. Well, who else in your life didn't give you compassion? Like, how far back does that go as a pattern? And who's going to be the one to end the pattern? Wow, if I could learn to give me compassion and ask for it when I need it from others, maybe we'd be getting somewhere. Otherwise, it's like, where does it end? Everyone's pointing the finger. There's no leaders. Well, you should give me compassion. I'm not very compassionate right now, but you really should consider that.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yes. One of my thoughts that showed up as you're talking is that for a guy like me who wants to be in control, that this work is very fitting for that, because I get to control me. I get to control my habits and my behaviors. And I get to control in many ways, like, that's a new belief. I want that belief. I'm going to have that belief, versus me trying to change my wife or my kids or whoever that's bothering me. So for a guy who wants to be in control, I feel like I have a lot more control when it's me that has to make the change. And not from a place of like heroing my way through everything, right? Or being a rescuer
Distinction.
through everything. Like, I'm going to shoulder mine and yours and everybody else's, and I'm going to take all the responsibility, including yours, but yet just take my responsibility. Like, one of the thoughts that comes up all the time is, whose business is that? And I'm like, that's my business. Tell us about that. Whose business is this?
I think that is a great kind of summary statement about what the work is. So Katie would say there's 3 kinds of business: mine, yours, and God's, or the God of your understanding. So for example, whose business is it whether you disrespect me? That's your business. You have control of that. Whose business is it whether I disrespect me or you or other people? That's what I have control of. That's my business. And whose business is it whether it snows in Austin in April? Well, none of us have control of that. So it's out of our business. And to notice when you're feeling stressed, whose business you're in.
Right.
And it's a way of giving away power, and also getting in other people's business in the sense of, I need to fix them in order for me to be happy. And I think it's worth like pausing on those mindsets, because again, if you have the work and you look in the mirror, sometimes the thing you need to be responsible for is to stop rescuing or being so responsible for everyone else. And that's a little counterintuitive for people. Like you just said, that we're typically in a victim mindset, victim position when life is happening to us. And when we relate to other people, we're either persecuting, which is back to blame and shooting, or actually we're doing the opposite. We're in the rescuer mode, the hero, and we're blaming ourselves for everything, which means we don't hold anyone accountable or set any boundaries. And that's what you see so often showing up in the work. That's what the mirror is really being held up to. It's one of those kinds of patterns. And we sometimes are in these dynamics for decades and we don't know it. We often tell this story, to speak to the drama triangle for a minute, about a father, since this will fit to your audience, who comes home from work. His son hasn't taken out the trash. So what does he do to his son? What mindset is he in the drama triangle?
Persecutor.
So he persecutes his son. What does son do?
Maybe goes into victim mode.
But all the excuses. And then son goes to mom. What does mom do?
Rescuer.
Rescues the son. And what does the mom do to the dad?
Persecutes.
Why are you so hard on him? You know he had extra homework today. What does the dad do?
He turns into a victim.
Yep. And then takes out the trash for his son.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So, and then the cycle continues.
That's right.
And to bring awareness to that, oh my gosh, what's the judgment you would have had? And the work could be the kind of stopgap, the moment of awareness to look into, what story am I telling myself in this moment? And is it true? And that can dismantle, like Eckhart Tolle says, in a single moment of presence or awareness, you're transcending thousands of years of human conditioning. And isn't that so?
Yeah, man. Well, this interview is just like our coaching sessions. Always give me things to think about, man. I just had to pause.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing the examples too and grounding it.
Yeah, this is fun, man. There's so much to this. Let's zoom out again real quick, because it's easy to get in the weeds with this. And it's easy for somebody to be like, wait, my head's spinning. I'm kind of lost. Let's go back to the basic for a moment. There are 4 steps to the work. Is that safe to say, right? There's 4 questions.
Right. 4 questions. Actually, 4 parts. Let's talk about it in terms of 4 parts, because even people who are facilitators of the work will say, well, it's 4 questions and turnarounds.
Exactly.
There's 2 additional parts, actually, that I like to speak to so that there's an action component that follows the inquiry, which is
Yep, let's get into that framework piece again so that people can almost visualize what we're talking about and lay that over top of all of these conversations.
That's great. So I think at the highest level, if you're choosing to take out the work or inquiry as a toolkit, it's something that is triggering you emotionally. It affects you. It doesn't just inform you. If it's just a problem to solve, that's the coaching tool.
Let's begin to use this work.
Yeah, a business meeting, you debate something, discuss something.
But that's why this has been so powerful, Nathanael, because so much shit triggers me.
Yeah. Well, we're taught not to judge, but talk about it's what we do best is judge all the time inside our own heads.
That's right.
So it gives us a chance to work with that and transform it through inquiry. And the 4 questions are the way you do the work. But the first thing is capturing the thoughts. The Judge Your Neighbor worksheet is one way to capture your stressful thoughts and judgments in a situation where you felt triggered. And if it's not about another person, if it's about an event or yourself, then you can make a list of beliefs. And those could be self-judgments. Those could be, if this happens, then something else bad happens. So these are limiting beliefs as well that we can capture. So that's the full step 1, capturing the beliefs. And that's a meditation too, because again, we feel the emotion, but why? And we do so much rationalizing and kind of talk therapyizing and telling our story, but it's being able to connect the thought to the emotion so that you're writing down the stressful thought. She doesn't care about me. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I want them to respect me. Those are stressful thoughts. Those are beliefs. Then you do the work on those thoughts, which is 4 questions. Is it true? And really meditating in that and letting it just be a yes or no, because you're testing to see if you still believe it. And if it feels true, it's a yes. I'm still believing it's true in that moment. And then, so is it true? Can you absolutely know it's true? Which is kind of like, are you sure? Look again, go deeper. And then how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? This is emotions, reactions. How do you treat the other person? How do you treat yourself? What addictions or distractions kick in when you feel those emotions? Where are those emotions in your body? So all of, you've seen those virtual reality goggles that people put on of like you're walking on a tightrope, like one of those, with one of those things that keeps you balanced. And then your mind thinks it's real. And you see people like freaking out or, yelling even because it's like being in the Matrix. The mind thinks it's real. So that's question 3, is just witnessing how your mind reacts when you believe that thought is true. And sometimes if you look like, where does that thought come from? When's the first time I can remember believing that thought? What will bubble up are memories from the past, which is another definition of projection. I'm not responding to this moment when I'm judging it. I'm actually projecting something from my past on top of it. Like you change the name of the person you write the worksheet to your dad, and suddenly the worksheet makes sense. Oh, this is all my father stuff or mother stuff or grandfather stuff, or the time in school when I was bullied. And that trauma basically is where I'm projecting it onto this situation or transferring. So you look at that. And then question 4, who would you be without the thought? How would you feel if that story wasn't true? How would you respond skillfully as a creator, as a coach, as a challenger? More compassionate, more awareness, more patience maybe. What options are available?
It's such a great question. Last night on our walk, I said that to Tatiana. I said, who would you be without that thought? She gotta be so light. I would be so free. I would be so, right? And I felt that so many times. It's just knowing who would you be if you just chose not to believe that thought. There's a lot of breakthrough that happens right there in that moment.
And it's not about going into denial. It's not about pretending like it isn't happening. It's just, who are you without the reaction?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a Zen koan. It's like there's pain and then there's suffering. And the suffering always comes from my reaction to what's happening. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, to keep it a higher level, then the turnarounds come. So 4 questions, turnarounds, which, let's take a thought, he doesn't care about me. And you turn that around into different perspectives. And the idea is when you're believing a thought, you're stuck that it's true. So this is where you came in about perspective. What if that's not the only thing that's true? So you do like this mental yoga pose of like, he does care about me. Can I get actual data points, examples for why that could be true? And then my mind starts to open. It's like a wedge in the door. Okay, it could be that he does care about me. And then you turn it around. I don't care about him. Aha, now I know why it bothers me, because I'm the one not caring about him in that moment. And often in the very moment I'm believing it about him, I'm the one who's not caring about him.
Yeah.
And then lastly, the turnaround to the self. So opposite, other, self. I don't care about me in that moment. And in a codependent dynamic, there could be a lot of reasons why I'm not caring about me. Like if I stay in an abusive relationship, it's like, fool me once, fool me twice. Well, now I'm not caring about me. When I don't treat me like someone who's worthy of respect, when I stay in something that doesn't work for me, when I don't honor my boundaries, when I don't speak up, when I don't express what I'm feeling or what I need. So that's where that can go. And again, when you turn that mirror around and you have the mea culpa moment of, I'm actually guilty of what I'm judging you for. It's ego death. The end of the world as we know it. I'm sorry is transformation. What can I do to make it right? So that's the amends that follows. And then comes the living turnaround. How can I live my turnarounds that I wanted you to? And that's kind of the action or the practice that follows the work.
I want her to be more compassionate to me, and yet I need to be more compassionate to me. My living turnaround right here, man. That is printed it, right? Yeah. So I want me to stop blaming me. I want me to stop blaming others. I will say to myself or to her, I know you aren't trying to hurt anybody. I know you're trying to help. I know you're a good dad, mom. I will use I statements to express my emotions. I will ask, can we work together to find a solution that is healthy? I'd be happy to do that. The interesting thing is that language, can we work together to find a solution that's healthy, was like, you got me to see, you helped me see, you helped myself come to the realization that what I wanted her to say, you're like, what do you want her to say? I'm like, I don't know. I just want it to be different than what it was. But if you can't figure out what you want her to say to you, how is she supposed to figure out?
How would you even know if she did it?
How would you even know if she got it right when you can't say what you want her to say to you? So you got me to think about this. And then I said, I want her to say, can we work together to find a solution that's healthy? But then I realized that that's what I should be saying. Like, I didn't have the language I wanted her. So I was getting angry at her because she wasn't doing the thing that was going to get me out of my own pain, because I wasn't willing to do the work myself. It's crazy.
And that's so powerful, what you just read and what your commentary was, because any one of those is a profound insight. Like if someone's blaming me, he blames me, she blames me. What am I seeing in the mirror? I'm seeing my own harsh inner critic. So it actually wouldn't make me feel better if she stopped, but I continued.
Yeah.
So to be the change, like, I should stop blaming me and her. That's enough work to do. And then like Jesus said, like, remove it from your own eye before you point it out in your brother's eye. And then you can be more responsive in that situation, basically. But the second point that you just made is like, we make all these statements and judgments in general about how we want things to be, but we don't even know how to ask specifically for what we want, such that we wouldn't even know if we got it. And that's a product of, like, the mantra there is to be specific. So the living turnaround exercise is also shadow work, because what we do is we say, how would you know that they were respecting you?
Right.
Make your list specifically. Again, that's the prescription for happiness. How do you feel when you walk your talk, when you're able to give what you wanted to receive?
Thanks for listening today, fellas. If you got value from this episode, I ask that you take 1 second right now and you share this with another dad in your life that you respect, that you know is committed to becoming a better man, family man, and businessman. And on that note, I want to honor you for choosing growth. Your family will thank you years from now for all the effort that you're putting in to learn the strategies so you can show up more fully for them today. Take care.